And this is Ken Crates here for Sons of the American Legion Radio. We're covering Army football. Saturday, the Army Black Knights are going to host arch rival Navy in a historic encounter. They'll be right at Michie Stadium, a 3 o'clock start on the CBS television network. And we're very pleased to talk to a West Point alumnus in the class of 71, a former Army football and baseball player. Living now down in Madeira Beach, Florida, and that is Tom Peterson. Tom, how are you today?
I'm just fine, Ken. Thank you for having me.
Well, good to have a chance to talk with you. We saw a beautiful picture that you posted on one of our friends' website, Crawdad's Countdown to Kickoff, that showed the 1969 Army-Navy game, and you captioned that it was a picture your father took from the stands, at the old JFK Stadium, which had sat over 100,000 people, and you were down on the sideline as you were a varsity player. Tell us a little bit about that game and the history of that wonderful photo.
Well, that was the only game that I was fortunate enough to play in, and I don't think I can describe to anybody, unless they've been there, what it's like to participate in an Army-Navy football game. You just can't imagine what goes on. The pageantry, the president is usually there, and the brigade of midshipmen on one side, the corps cadets on the other. And I was fortunate enough to have my father there, and fortunate enough to have him snap a good picture that came out. You could see me and a number of my other classmates down there by their numbers, and I still remember a lot of them from just looking at the numbers on their uniforms. And the wonderful time. I just can't tell you what exciting time it was for everybody. Now, unfortunately, excuse me, we won that game, 27-0. Which made everything even better.
Absolutely. Now, what is it like to run out on the field? Now, the old JFK Stadium, which was a huge stadium, sat over 100,000 people, and it must have been jam-packed that day. What was it like, and what was the sound of the crowd? There must have been a big roar.
Oh, it sure was. Once again, that's what makes it so exciting. You come running out of the locker room there for pregame warm-ups, or halftime, after halftime, come back out after meeting with the coaches at halftime, and the people just go crazy. It's just a wonderful feeling, wonderful excitement for everybody.
Absolutely. It's different. I was at a number of games at the Veterans Memorial Stadium. Took my dad to a couple of those games, and then we've been at the Army-Navy games in Lincoln Financial Field. Army finally, a couple of years ago, turned it around, broke the streak, and won. What was it like for you as an alumnus the year that Army broke the streak and had that amazing victory over Navy?
Oh, it was about time. We had suffered for a lot of years losing the Navy. I have some friends that live close here that are other graduates from West Point other years. And we saw each other quite frequently, and some of my other classmates that live here also would get together every year and watch those games, and it was just heartbreaking. The bad streak we had there was 14 in a row that we lost. It was just absolutely terrible. So when we finally won one, it was just a real joy and a real relief that this losing streak finally came to a halt.
Yeah, absolutely. That was an extraordinary day. I remember being down on the field, and all the cadets were running out of the stands to celebrate with the team, and players not being able to get back out into the locker room till much later. Okay, Tom, let's talk a little bit about your career coming out of Minnesota, going to West Point and studying engineering, playing football and baseball. Tell us a little bit about your West Point experience.
Well, it was when I entered West Point, the United States was heavily involved in the war in Vietnam. and all the classes before me, a lot of the graduates, in fact, probably a majority of the graduates of the three classes before me while I was there, all went to Vietnam. Now, by the time we graduated, Vietnam was starting to wind down, so not many of my classmates went to Vietnam. But it was a rough time for America as well as for the military academy. I mean, it was great being there. It's an experience that it's hard to describe to people unless you've gone through it and experienced everything that the West Point experience has to offer us when we were there. It was tough. It was tough. I remember the very first day I was there, one of the upperclassmen that was bringing us in asked us, as he got us together in a group at the end of that first day, he said, "Now, I bet every one of you thought about quitting at some time during the day." And we all sat there and nodded our heads that we didn't know if we'd make it through the first day. But then he finally said, "Look, take it one day at a time. And you do that, you'll make it." And 75, 80% of us did. We lost about 20% of our class. That's kind of normal over the course of 4 years that cadets drop out for various reasons, injuries, academics, other things. But it was tough. It was tough. I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
That's what we hear. Yeah.
Yeah, and academics were tough. I took. We all had to take a language back then, and I took Portuguese of all languages, which is a lot like Spanish, but still very different for me. And that was tough.
And you were an engineering major.
Yeah, back then everybody came out with an engineering degree. Now I know today they can do a little differently. They can kind of major in certain areas, but back then everybody pretty much took the same stuff. We weren't allowed to have any much choice in the classes we took until one or two classes our cow year, and then a couple three classes first a year. So everybody pretty much took the same stuff back then.
Yeah. Now tell us a little bit about branching. You went to quartermasters. Not everyone may be familiar with that branch. Maybe you could tell us about it. And what was your path in your Army service?
Well, like I said, I injured my knee my senior year, so I wasn't allowed to go into one of the combat arms. So I chose quartermaster, which is the supply end of the Army, coordinates getting supplies to those frontline troops. And my first assignment was with the 1st Infantry Division, who had a brigade over in Germany, and I was with them for 3.5 years. Then I transferred back to the States to a unit in Fort Devens, Massachusetts, and I was there for another 3.5 years. And after that, I got out and moved down here to Florida. But that was a tough time for the Army back then as well, because Europe had been kind of stripped of some of its manpower and equipment because of what was going on in Vietnam. And so by the time I got over there, Vietnam was pretty much wound down. And so they were trying to build things back up and get things back up to a much better state of readiness than maybe they had been during those years of the Vietnam conflict. And but I had a great time, loved it over there. Met my wife over there. She's American, but she was over there visiting a friend who'd been drafted. And one thing led to another. We got married and had a great time in Europe. Learned how to ski over there and just had a wonderful time. The job I had allowed me to do those things. Some of my friends.
Were you in Germany?
Yes. Germany, just southeast of Stuttgart, down in southern Germany.
Yeah, my family was stationed in Germany. with my dad in the very early 1950s,
Mm-hmm.
and they were in town, Bad Kreuznach, and then they always talked about going to Garmisch. And in fact, my father and I got there for a few days
Yep. It's
and
beautiful.
had a chance to
Beautiful
visit
down
there.
there. It's
Now,
beautiful.
yeah. What was the experience being in Germany for you, interacting with the people and serving? You hear the story about the conflict with the going toe to toe with the Russians. On the border with East Germany. People kind of forget those days of the Cold War, how tense it really was on that border with East Germany and the influence of the Russians in that part of the world.
The we were as far as you could be, kind of far away from the border. Now, a number of my classmates were with armored cavalry units, and they were the people that guarded the border between East and West Germany. And those guys, and some of them live right close to me, and they've got some really great stories to tell. But it was always something that was in our mind. We knew that, the Russians were over there on one side and we're on the other, and we all had stuff pointing at each other, and you never knew if and when, something might happen. 61 I think it's 61 when the Berlin Wall was built. Then they fortified the border between East and West Germany for the same reasons, not necessarily to keep us out, but to keep their citizens in, because they were all trying to get away from the oppression that they were under in East Germany and East Berlin. So it was understandably difficult for those people. And although the German people that we met while we were there, very kind, very nice. I think they understood, why we were there, and then they realized that we needed to be there in order to keep them safe. So we were treated very well.
Yeah. What is it, as a veteran of service in Germany? What did it feel like in '87 when the Berlin Wall finally came down and East Germany became reunited with Germany, and the Eastern European countries had a chance for different levels of independence? That must have been quite remarkable for you.
Well, it was. I mean, knowing what we knew when we were stationed there and what could have happened or what might have happened if something triggered some kind of conflict while we were there. And here all of a sudden, 25 years later, the wall's getting knocked down. The people are, Germany becomes one again rather than being split like it was.
Yeah, sometimes cool heads and peace can break out in the world when people want to work together. Now, just tell us a little bit. One of the things we talk a lot about in our Sons of the American Legion veterans interviews is the transition from the military to civilian life in terms of career occupation and advancing education. The American Legion has been a big advocate for the GI Bill for generations now. Tell us about your transition. I know you went into the home building business.
That's right. When I got out, my wife at the time, who's a Floridian, convinced me to move to Florida. So we came down here to the St. Petersburg area, and I got hooked up with one of the home builders in the area, a very large home builder. And at that time, home building I was fortunate to hook up with somebody because the home building business was booming at that point. They couldn't build houses fast enough. So a lot of builders, a lot of home building companies were in the area building. And for, gee whiz, 30 years, I built houses all over the Tampa Bay area with a couple different companies. And I was very fortunate to do that, and made a good living for myself and my family, raised three kids here in the Largo area, and enjoyed doing that, and gave me a lot of insight on, once about how to take care of a home. Once you
Sure.
move into one, a lot of people don't know how to take care of their house when they move in it. But I was one of those ones that knew how it got built in the first place, so it's fairly easy for us to take care of things at home because I knew how to put that stuff together. Now I didn't do all the work myself, but at least I knew, okay, that you need to do that, we need to do this, we need to call this guy to get this fixed, whatever. Every
Yeah.
homeowner has those problems.
All the things that my wife wishes I knew more about. No, that's terrific. Maybe just a thought. When you talk with other veterans of the era, Vietnam era, Cold War era, what do you find their needs are now as veterans? Many in retirement, healthcare in a lot of cases. What do you find the biggest needs? Do you find the Department of Veterans Affairs helpful?
Yes, I do. Now I'm fortunate enough. I live 5 minutes from a VA hospital. There's one right here in St. Petersburg, and it's one of the biggest ones in the country. At least it serves, I think, like the third or fourth most number of veterans every year. And they have been absolutely wonderful as far as I'm concerned. I've had my knees replaced. I've had some other issues. I had an ankle replaced. Had a heart attack in 2016. And the care I got from this VA has been absolutely wonderful. And I think every veteran who is in the area that deals with this VA hospital will say the same thing. It's very, very good.
Well, that's good to hear. And we work, certainly American Legion works closely with the Department of Veterans Affairs, and always, they're always trying to improve. But the story that you just mentioned is what we hear most often, that most veterans are very pleased with the care that they received at the VA, and that's good to hear. Tell us a little bit now. Let's get back to football. Just got back from West Point. I was up there this morning, actually, and they're getting the stadium all ready. You can tell everybody is very buttoned up at West Point about what they're going to be hosting on Saturday. The Army-Navy game, first time since 1943, and the visit of not only the Navy football team, but 4,400 members of the Brigade of Midshipmen are coming up early Saturday morning, and it's going to be quite a scene. Navy's already printed in the end zone, the north end zone of the stadium, and Army in the south end zone. What's your thought about this game on Saturday?
Well, it's just absolutely amazing. I mean, because like you said, it's the first time since 1943. So nobody that's alive now has ever seen an Army-Navy game at one of the two academies. So this would be something that's just absolutely out of the ordinary, and everybody, I'm sure, will be excited as to what they're going to see, how they're going to do things differently from how they normally do it when they're down in Philadelphia or elsewhere. And I can't wait, just to see how they get the midshipmen there, like you were telling me earlier. Are they going to? Now you said they're driving up.
Yeah, they're all going to come up on buses. We actually, we heard a little bit about it. I mean, it's a very interesting logistics to have that many people from another school. It's so unprecedented. In fact, I heard someone up there this morning said, "Oh, it was exciting when we heard we were going to host the game. Then we thought about what the logistics were going to be, and we went, oh." And so they've been working nonstop on this since the announcement about a month ago. What
Sure.
about the team? How do you size up this Army team? 7-2 on the season. They had to rebuild their whole schedule in mid-August so that they would have teams to play, as many of their conference opponents were canceled the games. and a bunch of quarterbacks. We're waiting to see who the quarterback's going to be Saturday. Which is reading on the team?
Well, with Coach Monken's offense, it all starts with that quarterback. And how many has he played this year? Like 6?
He's had 6, well, 5, and one. The number 1 quarterback going into the season, Jabari Laws, was hurt. He
Right.
has likely not recovered from an injury from the year before, so I think they held him out so that he could effectively have an extra year. But they've had 5 quarterbacks play 4 start, and we're interested to see, because Coach Monken's kept very close-lipped about his plans for the quarterback position. We tried it. We asked him yesterday. 2 of us, myself and another reporter, asked him, and he skirted the question pretty effectively. And we'll see. So, what is your thinking about the team from what you've seen so far this year?
Well, they've had some ups, some downs. I write a little review of each game for my classmates. We have a little message board that we share things with, and I write a little review of the game every week for those people. Just give my thoughts on what happened and
Sure.
what they did, what they didn't do, what they could have done better. And I think every year, it's fairly simple. If you can hang on to the ball, that's probably the first thing, and you can sustain drives, and you don't get penalized. Those are the 3 big things that, to me, makes that Army offense go. And then, of course, defensively, if you can keep the other team from scoring, and they've done a very good job of that this year. I forget what their ranking is as far as scoring defense. It's pretty high.
Very strong, very strong. And Nate Woody, the new defensive coordinator, really has done a phenomenal job. And the players are all raving about the way he coaches the defense.
Yeah. And the special teams this year have done very well. They've blocked kicks. They haven't run anything back yet, but still they're doing pretty well. Their kicking has gotten better. Their place kicking has gotten better. Their punter is very good.
Matt Harding, yeah, he's had a terrific season. The junior.
As a former punter, I watch those guys when any football game I watch.
Sure.
I tend to gravitate towards watching the punters because that's what I used to do. And if they can continue to do what they know they can do, and stop those errors, those errors will kill them. The penalties, the fumbles, and the negative yardage. If they can stay away from that, they've got as good a chance to win as they've ever had.
I think so.
That's always something that I look at, because those things get you in a hole and that you can't dig out of, because their offense is not designed to come back from deficits or designed to come back from major losses, because they're not a very good passing offense, which, okay, we understand that, but so that means you got to work that much better on the running game. And if they got the running game going, that's going to keep the ball out of the other team's hands, and eventually you're going to score points and eat up the clock at the same time.
Yeah, I have a feeling we may see the freshman, actually second-year player, Cade Ballard from Tennessee. He had 2 53-yard completions. One of them that beautiful touchdown pass to Tyrell Robinson, who can be a game breaker for Army when they get him the ball. And I know they're going to try to do a bit of that. So it's looking forward to it. Tom Peterson, graduate of West Point, class of '71, former Army football player and baseball player, and now in the Madeira Beach, Florida area. Maybe just a final thought for us today about the game, West Point, your fellow veterans.
Well, the biggest thing I can say is beat Navy. But hello to all my fellow veterans. Hello to my classmates who may be watching this on Countdown to Kickoff or on SAL radio. Hopefully we get together again. Hopefully Army pulls this one out and makes everybody happy, whether they're West Point grads, whether they're just non-grads at Army, they're Army veterans. I know when I go to the hospital, I see a lot of veterans that wear beat Navy stuff, even though they might not be graduates of the academy. And if I'm wearing something, they're always saying, go Army, beat Navy as well. So hopefully this weekend they'll do just that and make a whole lot of people very, very happy.
Well, we're looking forward to, we're very fortunate that we'll be at Mikey Stadium and we'll be providing coverage on our Facebook page, West Point Football Report, and on Twitter at Sons Legion Radio. And Tom Peterson, great to chat with you. And, we enjoy, we've got to meet the people, some of the people at Crawdad's Countdown to Kickoff, another terrific Facebook page. They do a radio show every week during the season out of Huntsville, Alabama. Do a terrific job. And just really great to hear from you, your story at West Point, being a football player, a punter, and then service to our country in Germany during a very difficult time during the 1980s, and hearing about your transition to career in the home building industry. Great, really enjoyed hearing your story.
Well, thank you for having me, and I enjoyed it.
Our pleasure. Hey, this is Ken Kreitzer for Sons of the American Legion Radio. We're based at Squadron 135 in White Plains, New York, and I'm at my home office here in White Plains. And appreciate Tom Peterson joining us. And we'll be at Mikey Stadium early on Saturday. Follow our coverage on West Point Football Report on Facebook and at Sons Legion Radio. And to all the veterans out there, thank you for your service. Again, this is Ken Kreitzer from Sons of the American Legion Radio in White Plains, New York.